go beyond partisan talking points to the heart of the political debate where all sides are fair game. Today, we are tackling the flat tax, or more specifically, the economic plan Rick Perry rolled out today. We talked about the specifics earlier in the show. You know, the flat tax actually became federal law in 1894. It was ruled unconstitutional just 1 year later. At the time, the rate was 2%. But for Rick Perry, today's announcement wasn't just about numbers. It was about character and vision and trying to re-energize potential voters. Joining me now are CNN contributors Maria Cardona and Will Kane. Great to have you on. Will, let me start with you on this one. Do you think that this will come as a much-needed boost for Rick Perry?
I think it'll be a boost. A lot of people are saying he needs to hit a home run on this. What I'd say is he hit it into the outfield. You know, back to your trivia question real quick, Randy. You know, 1913 is the first time the permanent income tax was put into place when Woodrow Wilson was president, and the rest is history leading today to this monstrosity that is the U.S. tax code, where we've got exemptions for buying a green car, deductions for making your house energy efficient. We've got a tax code riddled with holes. And you know who knows how to negotiate that? Lawyers and accountants, and the people that can afford lawyers and accountants. Rick Perry's plan today helps revise that, helps simplify the tax code. That's something we need to concentrate on.
Maria, is it a winner for Perry, do you think?
Well, I think it all depends on how it continues to be sliced and diced. And look, the fact of the matter is that most economists and analysts have said that a flat tax actually moves the tax burden from wealthy individuals to middle class and working class people. And that's exactly supposedly what Perry doesn't want to do. But if you look at it, that's exactly what it does. And he talks about the 20% being optional. Well, of course, if you're wealthy and you pay at a higher level, you're going to choose the 20%. Most middle-income and low-income families either don't pay anything or pay less than 20%. So again, you're doing nothing for middle-income families. And in fact, he also talks about simplifying the tax code, which is also code for taking away deductions that actually help workers and middle-class families. So again, a boon for the wealthy and does nothing, or it can hurt middle-class and working-class Americans.
Well, what's the Tea Party going to take away from this?
Well, I think the one thing I can agree with Maria on and what she just said is that the numbers need to be spliced and diced on this plan. But what the Tea Party, I think, is going to think is what we all think, is we need which is the tax reform. The tax code needs reforming. And I've been very, very critical of the Republican field for president. But one thing they should all get credit for is they have bold ideas, from 999 to the flat tax to John Huntsman's plan, which does away with all the deductions and exemptions and drops all of the rates. These are bold ideas to reform the plans. The difference between us, all those exemptions, all those deductions that Maria talks about, that's another form of government social engineering. It's the government telling you what they want you to do, your behavior. A simplified tax code would not only be a benefit to the economy, it'd be a more moral document.
But speaking of morality, what you want to do is actually make it fair. And none of these plans that the GOP talks about are fair. In fact, they're completely unfair to those who are actually working to get a paycheck. What this flat tax does, and frankly every other GOP plan, is that it gives all of this boon to the wealthy individuals and in fact shifts the tax burden to middle income and workers. And let's think about this for a moment. Personal income tax rates are actually the lowest that they've been since World War II and are actually lower now than they were under Reagan or Clinton. And let's look at what Clinton did. Clinton actually asked the wealthiest and big corporations to pay their fair share while giving middle-income Americans and working families a tax break. And look what happened. The greatest economic expansion that we've had in our generation. Let's do that again. We hope the GOP joins us.
But Perry had to get on the board with a plan. I mean, Will, is this going to be enough to maybe move the old 999 plan off the table? I mean, will voters take notice here?
No, I don't think it'll move 999 off the table, but it's at least now a valuable part of the conversation. You know, and from a strictly political perspective, was what you're asking, Randy, is how does this play? Well, I would say this. I think this is a winning issue for Republicans. If Maria wants to defend the tax status quo and defend the mortgage interest rate deduction, the child tax credit deduction, and deductions for green energy and energy-efficient cars, that's not a proposal I think she can win on. I think simplifying the tax code, reforming the tax code, which all these Republican candidates are talking about doing, I think that's a winning political message.
Well, I'll say this. Democrats are also talking about simplifying the tax code, but we do it in a way that is fair and doesn't ask middle income and working families to pay more than what corporations, hedge fund managers, and the wealthiest 1% do, whose incomes have actually risen in the last 50 years, while middle income families have seen their real incomes decline. That's not fairness, and it's not moral.
Real quickly, we
Great
should say this is a nonpartisan issue. This is a nonpartisan issue. Simpson Bowles had a similar proposal.
It should be.
Will Kane, Maria Cardona, thank you both very much. That is
Thanks,
Fair
Randy.
Game.